Welcome to Legends in Leadership, brought to you by ISF and the Carrington Group. Legends in Leadership is an inspirational podcast featuring the stories of leaders who are making a difference. Our goal is to inspire you with the stories of leaders who come from humble beginnings, overcome challenges, and ultimately rise up to make a difference in people's lives.
Here, episode number 57 of Legends in Leadership. We're in our new studio today. Temporary studio, but
pretty sweet.
Yeah. Nice little new look for us. I'm a family officer with the Carrington Group. My co-hosts on today's podcast, of course, the great Dr. Blair Ritchie, who's the executive director of ISF, and then Kyle Watkins and Jason Smith, who are partners of mine at the Carrington Group. We like to kick off each of our episodes with a little bit of leadership trivia, and I'm hearing, Blair, that the leadership trivia is maybe not the most difficult, but pretty difficult today.
Well, I start the new year out with something that we all feel good about, all right?
Okay.
So here we go.
Yeah, well, Kyle's back, so
Kyle's back.
Surely he'll have the right answer.
We'll see what we do. You ready to go?
Yep, let's do it.
Today's legendary leader was assassinated on this very day.
Ooh.
72 years ago. He was a man of deep piety, which he learned from his mother, and garnered leadership gifts and skills from his father, who died when he was 16. After dropping out of the cheapest college he could afford in his homeland, his older brother made it possible for him to study law in London. His law practice, however, struggled due to his innate shyness and psychological inability to cross-examine witnesses. That's a problem if you're a little light, right?
It is.
But his career took a turn when he accepted a one-year assignment in South Africa that turned into a 21-year season of developing his philosophy on politics, ethics, and spirituality. It was in South Africa that he became an active proponent, defender, organizer, and champion of nonviolent civil disobedience. At the age of 45, he returned to his homeland, where he became immersed in the struggles that his people were facing under British colonialism. He championed the cause of nonviolent protests, was imprisoned multiple times, used fasting as a powerful political tool, and openly spoke about the power of love. And guys, you do that too much, somebody's going to kill you. Who is this legendary leader? I'll be back at the close of today's program with the answer.
Oh boy, that's a tough one, Kyle. I don't know if you're going to be on that or not
pull
today.
That one out.
Yeah. Well, excited about today's guest, Kevin Lackey. Kevin serves as the president and CEO of Freedom Powersports, LLC. Kevin began his career in Powersports at the current Freedom Weatherford location back in 1998. You serve on First Financial Bank's board of directors since 2016. He's a part of YPO and various other leadership organizations. Kevin's also a host of his own podcast, RFN with Kevin Lackey. It's a podcast about becoming the better version of yourself. Since founding Freedom Powersports in 2012, Kevin has grown the enterprise to over $150 million worth of gross sales revenue. It's your thought process, team orientation, dedication to operational excellence, attention to detail, and strong leadership qualities that have guided your current success of now over 14 dealerships operating as Freedom Powersports. So great to have you on the show today, Kevin, and to get to spend a little bit of time hearing about your journey.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate being here.
You know, I want to start off. I was spending some time looking over a lot of content with Kevin involved in it, whether it's his podcast or it's his websites. And, you know, there's some people that are entrepreneurs, Kevin, that just have it. They've just got the right stuff. And you're an entrepreneur, you're a father, you're a speaker, you're authoring a new book, which I want to talk about a little bit later. And you, of course, just recently started your own podcast. So, some people just have it, but I'm curious as we rewind the tape and look at this journey for you in your life, what was it that really propelled you, or what was that catalyst moment for you that has allowed you to be where you are today?
So I think it's interesting. I've taken the time over, the last 5 years or more to really kind of look back at my life and my journey and try to understand better of how I've gotten to the point where I'm at, which it feels like some success, and things have been exciting, and I look around and think, wow, this is all very surreal. And knowing, if you knew a little bit more of my background even further, I really struggled when I was younger through school and other things. Had some personal things going on in my life at a fairly young age, and didn't have a lot of guidance from the time of, say, 15 till really in my early or mid-20s. Like, really was kind of living life without a lot of structure and guidance, and maybe some of the things that would be important to someone at that age. And I've always felt like that I had strong leadership abilities naturally. I didn't know what that was when I was 15 or 16, but I knew that I could get anybody to follow me, whether it was good or bad. And I think that some of the things that drove those leaderships, I've seen hard work. I know what hard work ethic looks like, or good work ethics look like, and pride and other things. But I think insecurities really drove me for the longest time. So looking back when I was young, I just had these huge insecurities around, I didn't graduate high school. I didn't go to college. And those things really bothered me for a long time. And so I really worked hard to overcompensate for those things through hard work and doing things right. And whenever I kind of got going into this dealership that I first started working in, it was not necessarily I'm thinking this is a career type thing. I'm not thinking about leadership or any of these things. Just needed a job. But I worked for this guy who had just so much charisma, okay? And he really taught me a lot of things, but I also watched a lot of aspects of his life that I didn't want to be, right? I could see the things in him that I'm like, I like that, but I've always been able to recognize I don't want to be this. It was like those earlier days when I made some bad choices and did some things that I wasn't proud of, that I said, this isn't who I am. This is not who I was born to be. This is not who God wants me to be. This is not who I want to be. And so I was able to then just go, okay, start pretty early on recognizing the things about people that, you may admire, but they're not perfect. So it's like, okay, what are the things about this person that I enjoy, and what are the things that I don't want to be like? So I learned from him just watching over a couple years working in this dealership, and really kind of just enjoyed that environment. Still had no real plan or ideal that this was going to be a career, but just kind of kept making a little more money and kind of getting promoted into different positions. And then the dealership sold just out of nowhere. Unbeknownst to me, the dealership sold. So a new person and his wife came in, completely different than the other person. So this guy had all the charisma in the world. These people had not an ounce of personality in their body. He did not do things ethical, which I didn't really necessarily know. I watched how he treated his kids. These people had nothing but love for their children, were extremely ethical, process-driven, and other things. So I started to learn from that, right? And I'm kind of just forming where my personality, I think value systems and other things, that's really when I started to kind of figure out who I am and what's important. Just when I think back to because of insecurities, I'm a person who's always on time. I follow through with my commitments. I just think those are important things. And so started working for this family in the same dealership. And we grew a great bond over many years, and they really allowed me to flourish in my role at the dealership because they knew they could depend on me, and they knew I had the working knowledge of the dealership. And so they were not investing in themselves to learn this business. They were investing in me because they were not customer facing. They weren't a personality or connecting with the consumer walking through the door. And so I think through that, over about 5 years working with them, or maybe 4 or 5 years, what really happened is I started to grow confidence in myself. Just all these little wins, like being sent to go do training for our dealer management system. I understood it in and out because I had the opportunity to do that. When dealer manufacturer shows come up where you get to go do these cool things and meet other people in the industry, they were sending me to do those things. And I didn't really know it at the time, but I was building relationships that today are still the most powerful relationships that I have in my business. I was learning things at just such a fast rate. And so at some point in that journey, I think that you start to build confidence, right? So you have all these skills that you think you have, or when everybody that you're meeting and they're always calling you easy money, or, you're just, man, you're great. You're telling you all these things that you really don't know, but you're like, okay, I don't know, I'm just being me. And then you hear these things consistently year over year over year over year. And I've never in any way, or even today, think I'm special, but you start to wonder what's different between you and the other people, all these people who've come and gone, right? And then, unbeknownst to me, in the middle of a time when I was actually trying to buy the dealership from them, had grown my confidence to the point of I want to buy the dealership from them. They gave me an opportunity to purchase it. This was in 2007. I didn't have the financial wherewithal or even the know-how to start going around about that process. But I started working to try to figure that out. And about 6 months later, they sold the dealership to a gentleman that could come in and write a check. And I didn't know about it. I actually got approved by the SBA on a Friday in March. And that Monday, I went to their home to talk to them because the dealership was closed on a Monday to tell them the good news. And that's when they informed me that they had sold the dealership. So I was heartbroken. My wife was 11 months pregnant or 10 months pregnant at the time, and I just got the best news I could ever get from a banker that I've been working with for 6 months. I was heartbroken and asked them, please, just undo the deal. But they couldn't do that. And that following week, the new team was taken over. And so this new team comes in. I went from the highest to high, the lowest to lows. I had a family to take care of. I have a daughter in school. I have one on the way. So I just said, I'm going to stay focused right now. I can't make any irrational decisions. I'm going to see who comes in, see what goes on. And this new group comes in, and they own 5 dealerships. They're much more sophisticated, and they brought the perfect combination. The owner was charismatic, but very ethical. They understood operational excellence, customer service, tools, other things. And I very quickly kind of started to see, like, okay, these guys are something new. I mean, this is even more than I thought. I thought I knew everything here when I didn't know anything. But they demoted me day one. They came in, moved me out of my office, put me on the sales floor. It was extremely difficult. Within 30 days, the general manager that they brought in from out of town and I had just a full-blown disagreement, and I said, today's my last day, and he said, please don't leave. I want to, let's talk. What's wrong? And I said, man, the way you're treating me, the way you've talked to me, the way you've handled the situation here with demoting me, the other people in the dealership are not happy, the customers are asking what's going on. I said, dude, you need an attitude change. You're not treating people the way that we're a small town dealership and we care about each other. And I understand you have to come in and change some things. Mm-hmm. And he then decided to tell me his side of the table, which was, listen, I got chose to do this 2 weeks ago, have no idea, told me and my wife, like, I need you to move from here to here. I'm living in a little hotel off the side of the highway, and I've never done this, and they told me to come in blazing. And I said, well, you've done it wrong. And when he was able to be vulnerable with me and tell me that he was nervous, and I was able to tell him how I was feeling and others, a friendship started. And then 9 months later, he had an opportunity to go run a store out in West Texas. And the owner came to me and said, Kevin, I want you to have this store as the general manager, and you have earned the opportunity to do that. You're one of us. You've learned a lot, and we want you to be able to run this store. And then that really gave me my first opportunity to run it with an owner that's uninvolved. Mm-hmm. Before I was working alongside someone. Now I'm owning this dealership, or we're running this dealership with no oversight, and they are investing in me. That first year, basically the end of that first year was with the economic downturn, the big recession, 2008, 2009. And my individual dealership, all the training that we were getting and all the different tools and the things that we didn't really know about before, we were just taking it and we were crushing it. Like, we were like one of the highest performing dealerships in the country in Weatherford, Texas. And his other dealerships were failing. And he found out that someone was stealing from him at one of his dealerships, a general manager, and asked me if I'd go take it over until he could replace him. And I said, sure. And after about 3 weeks, I said, I want you to let me keep this dealership as well. He said, you got 60 days to get in the black, or I got to find someone, and I don't want this store to fall. I said, great. I'm going to work 200 hours a week, and I'm going to make them both work. And that's what we did. And then all of a sudden, I'm his new rock star. Now he wants me to start coming into other dealerships of his. And, I really kind of rose to, within 12 to 18 months, of kind of a COO of, a $50 million organization. I didn't even really understand what that meant. We didn't talk about comp plans. I just want to go in and learn and do and make and lead people and grow people and create opportunity. And I knew it was right and it felt right. And, I ended up doing that with this organization for several years. And I got a lot of exposure to leadership training, management training, accountability, specific to our industry, just more and more opportunities. And I was extremely happy. Financially, I was doing well. I really enjoyed that organization because I knew they really, truly cared about people, the opportunities. But my heart was it was set on owning that dealership in Weatherford. And if I couldn't own it, I had to go buy a dealership. And so I fought with it for 6 months of trying to hold that back. And eventually went to him and just said, hey, I need you to sell me this dealership here in Weatherford, or I have to go find another dealership. This is what I'm led to do. And I love you, I have no issues, but this is what I'm led to do. And he said, okay. And it took me about 9 months to actually, unfortunately, I had to pay like 3 or 4 times as much for it
because you helped build the biggest
right? Yeah, and still really didn't have the financial wherewithal to do that. But I went out and worked hard and went through probably some of the hardest times as an adult of trying to get this thing done, and then eventually did. And then we just saw wild success, and so my confidence just continued to grow. My insecurities just kind of slowly started to shed, and it really truly allowed me to be my best me. And then I started to think about, why am I different? Now I need to recognize that I am different in some way, whatever that is, and that's my gift. I don't do a lot of things well. I was just at a leadership meeting, and they said, we were going through these questions, and the lady says, what's one of your secret gifts or talents or something like that? And I said, I really don't think I don't know of any or have one. And everybody at the team was like, no, your gift is what you do, your leadership, your ability to build teams, create teams, and to have people see the vision and build them and grow them and all those things. So I think I just finally had to come to a point in my life and be okay with that's cool. Yeah. That's my gift.
Yeah. I was listening to a podcast last night, and what an amazing story, by the way.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Peaks and valleys. And,
love it.
And you got your big break.
Yes.
But you were talking about defining success, and I really liked what you said about this, and you broke it up into 4 different buckets. You talked about your personal life, your business life, your family life, and your spiritual life. Mm-hmm. And then I liked the comment you made, and by the way, I don't define success as how much money I make, but it's great to make a lot of money. That is still showing some level of success, but it's what you do with it.
Absolutely.
That ultimately defines you. So talk a little bit about balancing the success that you found in really a fairly short period of time. Once you got that break that we talked about over the last, call it 6-7 years, it's been pretty crazy. So how do you balance your life with that level of success?
Well, like we were talking about before the podcast, I'm married, so my wife keeps me pretty humble and checked in. But I think working around amazing people, having a great team of people who are very just genuine and hardworking people, I think you also start to realize very quickly in a business that grows this fast. I think it's like maybe becoming a movie star or a rock star overnight, where one day you're playing at Billy Bob's and the next thing you're playing at the Madison Square Garden, and you don't even know how it's all happening. You don't even know how you're getting paid. that kind of is what happened for me, right? Like I'm like cash flow, balance sheet, CapEx, investors, like all these things, and so you become humbled by learning and understanding really what your responsibility, your fiduciary responsibility is to the people and to the business first, and you start to think about yourself last. I want to take care of my family, and then as you mature, for me anyway, you start to realize the things that when you were younger and dreamed about are less important to you now. Mm-hmm. There's just some change, and I think that's probably good and why, the way life works. And so for me, my family, and no one will ever debate this in any way, shape, or form, my family is extremely important to me. And so what my wife knows and has always known is that I love to work. I'm a worker. I love to work. It's what I just truly enjoy doing. And I don't take selfish time for myself to, I don't stop at the bar for a beer after work ever, right? I don't have these hobbies that would take away it. So I have a really good balance because I need my family, my children in my life and doing activities to feel good about what I'm doing. And if I can't have that, then I don't want to continue to grow. That's always been, important to me. And then you look at, the other aspects of faith and other things, and they probably suffer because I do focus a lot of time and effort on the business and my family. And when you feel like you're doing these good things or the serving, right, I am not doing as well as I could because in general you wake up and you feel like, man, I'm a good worker. I'm trying. I'm doing all these things the best I can. And I think you just have to look at them individually at all, all the time, and not all four of them are ever going to be just humming. One might be, needs attention, and you have to know how to balance that. But to really have learned, I guess my point was around the fast growth is, it's humbling to you wake up one day after 3 years or 4 years and have grown a $100 million company, and to understand the true challenges around inventory, around cash flow, around your debt service, and all these other things. And it's not just about me. So, what I'm learning is just a different business. Now my mind is going, okay, I see a different way of doing business here. I wanted to run this one little dealership, which probably would have been pretty simple. Now I'm running a much bigger dealership, and it's much more complex. You have a lot more people who depend on you and other things. And for me, I've ignored what would be the success or the bright and shiny things because I've just been so immersed and excited about the learning. Mm-hmm. And then secondly, or thirdly, I don't know how long I was talking, but how many points, but my business partner is just one of the hardest working people I've ever met. And, he's an immigrant, and he started a business right here in Dallas-Fort Worth, not long out of college and doing some consulting. And he's just built a great business and at some point got into private equity. But he has 3 children. He has a lot of wealth. And when I met him, I watched him and listened to the things that he had learned and experienced through his journey of seeing, a business grow and other things. And when you surround yourself with the right people that share the same values as you, it humbles you, So I think that's just really important to surround yourself with people who share similar values and have maybe already achieved some of these things and seen them and can tell you the pitfalls, and you can learn as best as you can on your own or without having to go through some making mistakes by watching people that you admire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You talked about a little bit in one of your podcasts this idea of the power of saying no.
Yes.
And I'm really interested in that because as entrepreneurs at the table, this is something I think we all struggle with. We, as you reach certain levels of success and you begin to grow, and that starts to speed up, then you start getting pulled in more and more and more directions. So I'm curious, how do you manage that? You've got this business that is just taking off. It's become this huge enterprise. How do you manage that idea of what it looks like to say no?
So there's two things that come to mind immediately, and there's one thing that I do every year called reflections. I just write down my wins and my losses for the year, things that I'm proud of and things that I'm not proud of, and and try to kind of reprioritize my year. And I constantly kept looking back and seeing the things that didn't bring value to the things that were important to me. So if I say that my business and profitability and growing it or doing these things for the people around me is important to me, then the things that I'm doing should align with that. And if my family is important to me, then I should be doing things that are in line with that. If my faith is important to me, I should be doing things in line with that. And if giving and serving is important to me, then the things that I'm doing should align with that. So I just could look back at my year and just say, okay, I went to this dealer conference in Las Vegas with 5 of the general managers because that's what you're supposed to do. That's what we've done for a long, long time. And at times I've taken my family, if the kids are out of school, or my wife will go with me or something like that. But you end up like getting this much value out of the conference, and it really just turns into, hanging out and drinking and going and eating dinners and doing stuff. And I'm like, well, none of those things, if I'm not going to go and get real value out of going for the business, then I'm just not going.
You'd rather be with your family.
I'd rather be my family. I'd rather be working on my business here, not distracted by planes and other stuff. It's similar to this podcast, right? Like if this podcast was not something that I felt like was in alignment with things I care about, because this is cool, and you guys are all about leadership and trying to bring a message to people, and that's in alignment with stuff that I like, I would have said no.
Sure.
And I haven't taken a lunch meeting with a banker, an insurance sales, whatever, in 4 years probably. I just say no. If we want to talk about something, we can probably do it in 30 to 40 minutes, and let's be very specific about our time. I want to be purposeful, and I also like to use the term you'll hear in my podcast is ruthlessly focused. And so I think that's been the biggest thing is it's just a continued maturing process where things seem fun and cool or they're opportunities, but if they don't truly align with these things, then why are you doing them?
Yeah.
And it's hard. I'm not perfect, but I think just being aware of it, and when you coach it to other people, when I'm coaching that to my team and trying, you're training the trainer, you're training yourself on like, man, am I doing what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. And I admire that. The idea of being ruthlessly focused, but what I hear from you is you're ruthlessly honest.
Yes.
And that goal of being more aware
Yes.
of where I'm at, and I just commend that.
Thank you.
That's a blessing, and keep at it. Just one quick observation about rituals. I know there are certain rituals in everybody's day and week and things. What have been the most impactful rituals that you've put into play that have helped your leadership journey?
So I'm not naturally a morning person by any means. I don't wake up happy. I'm actually one of the most unhappy people when I first wake up, and it's just not easy for me. If I get too much sleep or not enough sleep. But I've learned that a really good balance of sleep for me, but waking up and being very organized for the next day, having my gym bag ready, my clothes, having everything already organized so that when I get up, I'm process driven and I'm a little bit OCD, maybe a lot, and I have ADD, so I have to do things to help me get, to stay in aligned. And so getting out of the house early, 5:30 in the morning, getting to the gym is important for me. And I've found that at every time in the last 10 years that I'm in that routine, it brings the best out in me for the day. Mm-hmm. But then I like to get to my office an hour or so before most people, because that quiet time is really just the most peaceful opportunity of time for me to take time for me, to think about the things that are important to me. The last 3 years, I have a daily devotional book. It's just called Jesus Calling. It's just a one little deal. I try to read it every single day. If I'm traveling, my assistant will take a picture of it and text it to me because she knows I need it. I have a gratitude journal that I write in almost every single day. And, we have a system through our organization called EOS, Entrepreneurial Operating System, and we do what's called an L10 leadership team meeting every Tuesday. And that even though it's not just me, it's with my team, we're talking about our personal best, business best, and we're just talking about the things that we're responsible for and our goals and all those things. And that system has changed our company's life in a positive way. And I would really say that's about it. I'm pretty simple. Yeah, but that's about it.
As we wrap up the interview today, Kevin, you talked about one of your podcasts, maximizing your life. So I'm curious, when you're done with this journey and you look back, what does a maximized life look like for Kevin Lackey?
Oh, I think that I will have, raised 3 extremely wonderful kids that are excelling in life and happy and doing whatever they choose to do, whether that's being an entrepreneur, whether it's being a teacher. And it will have created opportunity for thousands of people to have, done something that they might not have done on their own, just because of the environment that we provide, the culture that we provide as an organization, investing in people. And, there's no question about it that I would like to make obscene amounts of money to enjoy the things that I like. I do want to experience the world in a way that I never thought that I would get to. But my goal would be that, in my mind, I've always thought that if I want to buy a $200,000 car or $500,000 car, that's fine, but I need to be willing to spend that same amount of money for something, in the world that is good, being charitable, giving back. And if I can't do both, then I really can't afford to do the things I want. So if I want to go buy $1 million home and, in Colorado, summer home, because that sounds great, right? It's hot as heck in Texas, so that sounds awesome to me. I'm not afraid to say that that's important to me. That'd be great to do. But really, if I can't do something meaningful, at the same time, that I really haven't afforded myself the opportunity to really do it. And so that's kind of the way I think. And I've done a couple exercises where someone says, when you're at your 85th birthday, when you look back, what do you want people to say about you, or if you're looking at your own funeral. And I just think I want to look back and for people to be able to say that, Kevin Lackey was a hard worker. He was honest, and he did his best, and he changed people's lives in a positive way. And nobody's perfect, but my gosh, I really liked being. He made an impact on my life in some way, and and I think it keeps changing as I'm. Again, 10 years ago, it was like I just want to own a dealership, be a good guy, and have a Ferrari. Today, it's very different than that, and I hope that in 10 more years, it's going to look very different. And I do want to be able to do something meaningful and have positive impact on people's lives.
It's really powerful stuff. You're writing a book.
Yeah, I am.
Called Ram It?
It's called Ram It.
And what's that going to be about?
So Ram It is a tool that I use. I guess I forgot it in the rituals, but Ram It stands for retreat, average, or massive. And so in the morning when the alarm goes off at 5 and I don't want to get up, I have to ask myself, are you retreating, or are you going to take average action or massive action? And when you say ram it, man, it's like, dude, I'm ramming it. I'm about to take massive action. Because if you tell yourself you're about to take average action or retreat, it's like, man, that's kind of
not very exciting.
That's not very exciting.
No.
Now,
I like that.
Yeah, some days you have to retreat. Always, because there's a speaker that's just about massive action, and he's right. Like, you have to take massive action to get the things done that we're doing or that you guys are doing. It takes massive action, not average, and you can't retreat. And so I just was always thinking about, am I retreating or taking average action or massive action? And then I thought, man, I'm just going to ram it. And it's stuck in my organization, and we all use it. People are walking around saying,
ram it.
Ram it, dude. Like, let's make something happen. And so that's just like a little mind hack. It's kind of like the 5-second rule. I didn't steal that from anybody, but someone was like, oh, your deal's kind of like this. I'm like, yeah, I guess it is. But I just say ram it. So on the days that, and I also understand that there's days, I think average is really the meat in the sandwich that you'd never want to be, because retreat, some days you need a retreat, right? Some days it's like, yeah, I'm retreating. I need this to recover, whatever. You can't take massive action every day, all the time, without your heart exploding. It's just not good. People need to retreat at times. And so, but if you're retreating more than you're taking the right levels of action, then you're probably not doing a good job.
Right.
And so the book is all about just my experiences, how I view retreating, and it's also a culture. So if I'm walking by the bathrooms in the dealership, walking out of the bathrooms, and the trash can's piled with paper towels, and I know that we don't have a cleaning service, retreating would just be wash your hands, throw a napkin on top, and then walk out from doing the right thing. No matter who you are in the dealership, the right thing is to bag it up and take it out to the dumpster. That's retreating to me. Average action may be that you bag it up, tie it in a knot, set it by the door thinking that, oh, well, someone else is going to take it out. That's average. Massive action is I'm going to take it out, bag it up, take it to the trash, and I'm actually going to go back into the bathroom and put a new bag in it. And if it's filthy from someone dipping out in Weatherford in Parker County and at the dealership there, or a soda that's spilt all over it, real massive action is that you're going to get out a Clorox box of wipes and wipe it down and take some pride in it and move. Right. And that's how I want my people thinking, is like at every step of the way, what are your actions and behavior showing? And Ram It was just kind of a, and the RFN is, the right freaking now, and you could say it in different versions. Yeah. But so I'll always say, well, someone said, what do you want? When do you want it? I say, I want it RFN. I want it, like, ram it, dude. Like, get it done. Like, that's when I want it. And that it's just because that's just my nature. I'm intense, I'm impatient, and I think the impossible can be done now. And usually a lot of things get done when you have that kind of mindset.
Absolutely. Love it. It's been a pleasure getting to hear your story and having you on the show. Inspiring. Ram it.
Yeah. I love it.
I like that a lot.
Is there a release date yet for the book?
So, it was something that it's completely written. It's been edited, and last year when things got really wild in the middle of this refinance of my business, again, going back to like priorities, the book and the podcast and all those things, those are not in the 4 main priorities. So it's set on the back burner, and it's just something that probably here in the first quarter that I'm going to get back to and hopefully release probably in the second quarter.
Great, man.
Yeah, it's really all done. And again, the publishing company is like, hey, what do we need to do with this? I'm like, man, I get it. But it's important to me. But because I'm not trying to gain fame or stardom or a New York Times bestseller, it's just something that I challenge myself to do. Mm-hmm. I'm just like, it'll get done and get out when it's meant to be. And if it does well, great. And if it doesn't, then
get one for our ISF students, boy.
Yeah.
I'll be happy to. Yeah.
That'll be great.
Love it. Well, thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule, Kevin, to be with us.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. Dr. Blair.
All right, guys.
This is the moment.
Okay.
Let's see if Kyle gets first guess.
Well, anybody? Oh, I mean, I know it. So, anybody else?
Oh, confidence. Pretty confident there, huh?
I feel confident.
All right.
Anybody else?
I have no idea.
No.
Mahatma
Gandhi.
Wow.
You know his real name?
No.
Yeah, because
Mr.
Mahatma
Gandhi?
was kind of Italian. Mr. Gandhi. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Mohandas. Yep. Mohandas Gandhi. By the way, the movie of his life was the best picture of 1983. Ben Kingsley, you got it. And my favorite Gandhi quote, which is perfect way to wrap up because you'll love this. You'll love this, Kevin. Live as if you were to die tomorrow. Learn as if you were to live forever.
Beautiful.
Like that.
That's pretty good stuff.
It is.
There you go, buddy.
Good stuff. Well, folks, that's a wrap for today's podcast. On behalf of ISF, the Carrington Group, and, of course, our special guest, Kevin Lackey, this is Tyler Tolman wishing you a good day. Now, remember this, that if your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, then you are a leader. Have a great week.
Legends in Leadership
Yeah, that was good.
is brought to you by the Carrington Group. Carrington Group is a family office with a passion for helping business leaders and their families make smart choices and fulfill their highest aspirations. To learn more about the Carrington Group, visit their website at www.carringtonfo.com or Google Carrington Group Dallas, Texas. ISF is committed to leadership development for aged-out foster care and orphaned youth. ISF's mission is to transform these youth into tomorrow's leaders with scholarships, mentoring, and leadership training. To learn more about ISF, visit their website at isfsite.org or Google International Student Foundation to learn more.
Securities offered through Regulus Advisors, LLC. Member FINRA/SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Regal Investment Advisors, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Regulus Advisors and Regal Investment Advisors are affiliated entities. Carrington Group and this broadcast are independent of Regulus Advisors and Regal Investment Advisors.